Hi everyone, my name is Miss Connolly. I'm here to talk to you about expanded form with exponents and writing it in standard form. So standard form is the way that we always see a number. Expanded form is when we stretch it out by place value, and exponents I'm going to get into in just a second. So let's talk about place value real quick. So in this video, I'm just going to talk about whole numbers, but I put the decimals here that we work with in 5th grade. Okay, so anything to the right of the decimal is part of a whole, and anything to the left of the decimal is a whole number. So as you know, we have the ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, and 100,000s. Then it would be millions, 10 millions, 100 millions, billions, 10 billions, 100 billions. It goes on forever in the same pattern. So let's take a look at what you've learned in 5th grade this year. So powers of 10. When we think about the powers of 10, we're thinking about this little floating number here, known as an exponent, and that's how many times we're multiplying the number by itself, okay? So 10 to the first power just represents the number 10, and what is it equal to? Over here, I've written 10, okay? 10 to the second power means that we are squaring the number 10, which means we're multiplying it by itself 2 times, so 10 times 10, and as you know, that equals 100. 10 to the third power means that we're cubing the number, which means that we're multiplying it by itself 3 times. So that's how you see 10 times 10 times 10, which is 1,000. So there's a relationship between the exponent here and how many times you multiply the number by itself. And then there's one other relationship we're going to talk about that I want you to start noticing as we go as well. 10 to the fourth power represents 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, which is the number 10,000, and 10 to the fifth power represents that we're multiplying 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, which is 100,000. Now, no tricks, don't like teaching the tricks. However, there is something that you should be noticing. When I have 10 to the second power and I multiplied 10 times 10, we notice there's also 2 zeros over here. When I multiplied 10 to the third power, I multiplied 10 3 times, I notice there's 3 zeros over here. I'll tell you why that's happening. Okay, it does happen every single time. It's a way to remember, but let me tell you what is actually going on. So every time that you multiply a number by 10, it gets 10 times greater, the digits are shifting to the left. Okay, so if I do 10 times 10, you see the 1 that was in the tens place shifts 1 place value to the left to show that now this digit is 10 times greater. Okay, so when a digit gets 10 times greater, when a number gets 10 times greater, each digit gets 10 times greater. That's why it's moving over here, and it looks like more zeros are appearing. But what's really happening when we multiply by 10 is the digit is shifting a place value to the left because it's getting 10 times greater. So the digit 1 used to be in the tens place. It gets 10 times greater. It goes to the hundreds place. So that's what we're seeing here. Then when I do 10 times 10, which is 100, and then times another 10, this digit 1 is getting 10 times greater and going to the thousands place. And then again, when I do 10 times greater, it moves over 1 place value, and that's what's happening. So there's several ways to think about this and remember it. Take a screenshot of this chart or write it down to help you with your work today, or you can pause it on this screen when it's time to do your work and come back to it whenever you need to. Okay, so let's take a look at how do we look at expanded form, what does it mean, and how do we write it in standard form. So we're going to go down. I have the place value chart to help us remember, and we are going to think about what is happening here when we have a number written in expanded form like this. Again, this is just whole numbers. In 5th grade, we do talk about expanded form with the decimals, and that'll be in the next video. I'll build a little more on this, so you have to watch this video first and watch the decimal one to help you understand. So let's think about what is actually happening here. So when we have 7 times 10 to the fourth, we know that that stands for 7 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 4 times. Okay, so I know that that stands for 7 times 10,000. Okay, so while you're getting warmed up, start writing the steps down as you start to see what's going on, you don't have to go and write out the entire thing. Okay, next, 4 times 10 to the third. We have 4 times 10 times 10 times 10, which is 1,000. So it's 4 times 1,000. Then we have 3 times 10 to the second. We know 10 times the second represents 100 because it's 10 times 10. So we write 3 times 100. 9 times 10 to the first. 10 to the first is just 10. So 9 times 10. And then 7 times 1 is equivalent to 7. So after we've, I'll just write 7 times 1. After you've written down what each exponent stands for, then you can start bringing everything together. So 7 times 10,000 is 70,000. 4 times 1,000 is 4,000. 3 times 100 is 300. 9 times 10 is 90. And then 7 times 1 is 7. Okay? So you can decide whether you want to line these numbers up, use the standard algorithm, or you might want to think about place value understanding. So if I have 70,000, I know that I have 7 groups of 10,000. If I have 4,000, that means I have the digit 4 in the thousands place. Put a comma there. 300, and for the 3 in the hundreds place. 9 as the digit in the tens place, and 7 as the digit in the ones place. So all that I did here was I combined, up here, all I did was I combined the numbers that we had and I wrote it in what we call standard form. So here it is, people. This is standard form. That's how we usually see a number written. And this is expanded form with exponents. That's when we stretch a number out, we use exponents to show place value, okay? In 4th grade, you saw expanded form without the exponents, so you saw in 4th grade this as expanded form, okay? So now we're bringing in additional understanding, the powers of 10, all right? So let's look at another one because students start to get flying through this work and we don't pay attention to what's actually happening. So moving on down to our next example. So let's continue the same steps. It's always good to practice with the steps that the teacher's given you before you go and make ways of your own for doing it, just a hint. All right, so we have 8 times 10 to the 5th, and I'll put a little space in between this here this time, and I'll use parentheses to help. So 8 times 10 to the 5th is 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, which represents the number 100,000. So 8 times 100,000. And you can always go back up to that chart with powers of 10 to help you. Remember, also I gave you a little hint about the number of zeros you're going to see here, but you understand why that's happening because we went over that. So that represents 8 times 100,000. 6 times 10 to the third represents 6 times 1,000. You'll notice something is not here. Then 4 times 10 to the second, you know is 4 times 100 because 10 times 10 is 100. Then you have 1 times 10, which is just 1 times 10, and then 3 times 1. Okay, so how do we figure out what that all equals? Well, we go inside each parentheses and we do the multiplication out here. So we have 800,000 plus 6,000 plus 400 plus 10 plus 3. Okay, so let's think about what's happening up here on our place value chart. Okay, so I have 800,000. So in my 100,000s place, I am going to put an 8. That digit represents that there is 8 groups of 100,000. Then I have 6,000. So here's the question. Does the 6 go here in the 10,000s place? Or does this digit 6 represent 6 groups of 1,000? And it represents 6 groups of 1,000. So what do we do here? We did expanded form. There was nothing here for times 10 to the 4th. So nothing in the 10,000s place. So what do we put? You should all be thinking about this. We use the digit 0 here. Okay, so if you guys are going to get rocking and rolling, and a lot of kids are going to write this, and it is a mistake. Okay, this is a no, people are going to write this and say that this is the number that they see over here. Let's keep going and let's figure out why that's wrong. Okay, so that is a no. Let me cross this off. No. All right, so let's keep going. We're going to think about what number do we have in the hundreds place. So they did give us 4 times 10 to the second, which is 4 groups of 100. We have the digit 4 in the hundreds place. 1 group of 10, the digit 1 goes in the tens place. And we have the digit 3 groups of 1, so we put the digit 3 in the ones place. So you can see that this number here is different than this number here. And that's a mistake that a lot of you are going to try to make, and I'm telling you, don't do it. You have to make sense of what place values are given to you. If you are finding that there is no groups of 10,000, then the digit 0 goes there. All right, so we're gonna look at one more, and then if you are in my class or my school, you're off to work. If you are not and you're watching this because you love math, you can go to commoncoresheets.com and look up standard form, and I bet you they have some worksheets you can practice, or you can make up your own and practice those. All right, so let me fix that because that is a no. And we added this up. All right, moving on. Last one. So we have, let me bring this back up. 6 times 10 to the 5th, which we're going to go through the steps as always. So that represents 6 times 10 to the 5th. So 6 times 100,000 plus 4 times 10 to the 2nd, which represents 4 times 100. And I made this example on purpose to show you how many times you're going to have to use that digit 0. And then we have 5 times 10 to the 1st, which is just 5 times 10. So then you can multiply out your parentheses, 600,000 plus 400 plus 50. Okay, this is what I do not want to see. I do not want to see, because that is not correct. That is not what's happening. That is not what these exponents are telling you to do. That's not standard form for this number. Okay, so what we need to think about is what place values do we have, and where do we see 0 groups of a place value. So let's look here. So we have 600,000, which means we have 6 groups of 100,000, which you see here. Reminder, that means groups of 10,000s. Is there any digit in the 10,000s place? So that's where we have the digit 0 to represent what's going on. What about the thousands? Ooh, that's a really bad 0. Hold on, redo. I'll tell you, this is one of the hardest things about teaching at home, is using this writing on the computer. All right, so there were, when we were given expanded form, we didn't have any groups of 10,000s, we didn't have any groups of 1,000, but we did have 4 groups of 100. So in the hundreds place, we have 400, the digit 4 to represent 400. Then we were also given 5 groups of 10. And then they did not give us any groups of 1. So once again, we use the digit 0. All right. If you were thinking about, some of you might really like thinking about this with the standard algorithm, and it might be something that's helpful so you don't make mistakes, you would line the numbers up by place value. And then you could easily see what's going on. Okay, there's several different ways to get at writing expanded form. This is just one. The place value chart is another helpful one. Over time, that's a comma. Over time, you will start to make sense of this and be able to write it quickly on your own, but take the proper steps at first, make sure you're learning it correctly, and as you build more understanding, then you can just start writing the numbers in standard form from here to here in one step. Okay, so just a reminder about what you learned. We learned about the powers of 10 and what they actually mean. I taught you a miniature, teeny tiny little trick, but you know what it means because each time we multiply a number by 10, the digits shift to, sorry, I'm backwards. The digits shift to the left. Each digit is getting 10 times greater. That's why we're seeing more zeros appear. But what's really happening is you're figuring out how many times you're multiplying by 10 and what that might actually equal. Okay, so you're going to take into account place value. You are going to write what each set of parentheses means, then write what each, multiply your parentheses out, and then combine. I will add this place value chart into your assignment to help you. And also you should be writing down the powers of 10. I can try to squeeze that in there too if that's helpful. Okay, so I'm going to do another video about standard form with writing standard form with decimals, because that's also something we learned in 5th grade for you to review. All right, bye.